Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Freedom Podcast. And I'm really delighted about today's guest, Heather Day. She's come from the Chicago area. And today's topic is all about faith and finances. Heather comes from a spiritual background, and I think this is an important episode in extremely trying times. Heather, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Briefly introduce yourself. You've written a book, Money, Faith, and Finances. I'm really excited to talk with you about that book.
My name is Heather Day. I work for Barnabas Foundation. I'm the director of marketing. We help generous transfer their wealth to honor and provide for their families and support close to their heart.
These days, your podcast appearances is to promote your book or talk about your foundation. What do people come to you for? What problems are you helping to solve today?
My book came out in January, Money and Surrendering Our Finances to Work. It's about how we look at our money issues and the ways that we view and manage money when there's struggles. We talk about tips and tactics. Often real transformation comes from a heart change and making sure that we address the underlying issues that we're seeing reflected in our finances.
What are people struggling with these days? Why are people struggling so much? It seems like the more what's going on in today's reality and you go back to lessons from history, those lessons from history are solid foundation, and the world is moving further and further away from that.
Absolutely. When you say what money issues people are struggling with, it's all over the map. There are people that are struggling just to get by. Then you also have people that are struck by, there's such anxiety around our finances of how much is too much? Will I have enough? What do I need to have? All are symptoms of we're trying to fill a void. For example, if we have a lack of love, we'll try to find that sense of belonging in the clothes that we wear or in the accumulation of stuff. Perhaps we have an issue with self-control where there's just that immediate need for instant gratification and not going without. So we tend to get in over our heads on debt or the accumulation of things. On the opposite side of the spectrum, there's people that get into a hoarding mindset because they want to make sure that they are never caught off guard and they're never without. They want to feel that safety and security. When in reality, it doesn't matter how much we have in the bank account. Yes, it's smart and healthy to save, but we can never possibly prepare for every potential scenario out there. At the end of the day, we have to rely on something bigger than ourselves. What is our ultimate source of peace and joy and comfort and provision?
A lot of this talk is around money and spirituality, and I'm reading this book, What Exactly is Money? Give us just a teaser of your book and we'll dive more into the conversation.
The book is really looking at the finances through the lens of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Often those are not the things that we're seeing in our money. We're seeing greed, heartache, turmoil, anxiety, the bad rot of misplaced priorities. This book is all about what does it look like if we truly open our hearts to experience real transformation in our source of joy, comfort, and peace. It's not a get-rich scheme. It's not a health and wealth message or anything like that. It's shifting our paradigms of putting back in the center of things so that how we view and manage our money follows suit.
And what inspired you to write Money and Spirit? Was there a particular moment or experience that spurred you to write it?
My husband and I were in our mid-20s. We had gotten to a place where we were overwhelmed by the weight of debt. Some of it was bad decisions. Some of it was student loans, the accumulation of debt and the weight that put on our shoulders. We got to a place where we didn't know where to turn, didn't know what to do. It was overwhelming. And we've made a mess of things. Help us to get out. It's not like there was a check in the mail or a lottery ticket. But what did happen is that we began to put people and resources into our path. As we were watching for it, we saw the ways to recalibrate how we thought about money. And we started to practice the disciplines. We started to redo things that shifted everything. It shifted that slow climb out of debt and into a place of more stability.
Interesting. How are the disciplines revealed to you different than the disciplines touted by financial advisors, books, media?
It's not that the tactics were different. We went back to the basics. So we had an envelope system where we put cash and not spending more than that. We built up an emergency fund. Those tactics were the same. What changed is us asking the question when we were tempted to overspend, why is this temptation there? Why do I feel like I need to make this purchase? What underlying need am I trying to fill? Am I trying to fill a need? Is this really something I need, or am I trying to purchase affirmation from others? Am I trying to purchase meaning in my life by giving away more than what I have to give? It began to reconcile our paradigm. So it was not different tactics. All of this still applied. It's like going on a diet. I can know all the right things to do until I truly look at, why do I have a bad relationship with food in the first place, and have that motivation to change? You'll keep slipping back into the old patterns. So this was addressing, why do I keep coming back to those bad financial patterns, and how can I break that cycle?
Your book begins with a story about a battle of wills with your preschooler. How did that experience reflect how we view and manage our money?
In the book, I talk about a time when I took my son and daughter. My son was 3 at the time, and he was a hot mess. We were at Disney World, and we went there, and we got into this battle of wills where he kept misbehaving. And I said, if you'll just listen to me, we can go and have fun and experience the joy that's around the corner. I have to have you listen to me first. My desire was for all of us to have a good time, but we had to deal with the issues at hand and address those. I talk about how that's what's often happening in our lives. We have this battle. I want my way, and I want my way now, but you got to stop fighting it. You got to stop trying to get things your own way and listen, and then you will have joy.
Spiritual, not religious representation of spirit. When you reach out and ask the universe a question, a lot of times it's just like you're lucky you got a response, but what happens if you don't get a response, or what's going on?
That is a really hard to place. I found more often than not, I want a clear voice, and I want to hear exactly what it wants from me. Sometimes I don't feel or hear that because I'm so caught up in how I think that I'm supposed to hear, when in reality, he might put a wise advisor, parent, or friend that all of a sudden was the answer that you needed to hear. That is more often how I feel, is putting people, truth tellers, into my life that I just need to listen. So if I say, teach me something, and then somebody comes in and gives me really good advice, I believe that's the voice speaking through that person.
I've reconciled the fact that I don't get any response, but it's like leaving it up to me to figure it out and to learn and experiences, rather than putting people.
I know there's all different kinds of beliefs. I believe that a lot of times, exactly what you just said, I'm just supposed to do the next right thing. And I'm supposed to use intellect and wisdom for a reason. We should live within those until we're directed otherwise. Sometimes if we are doing what we know is wise and we're seeking wise counsel, then I think that we can assume that we're going down the right path.
What is money? Obviously, it's numbers, dollar bills, or it's a credit card, but what is money? So many people, money is a emotional topic, and there's mixed messages.
Money is the manifestation of all of our things. If we want more love, we use money to try to secure that love. Are we trying to use it to secure peace or security, or to fill that void of wanting satisfaction and joy in our life? Money in this case, it's a tangible piece, because you see how I spend my money on the things that are important to me and that I want to have. Something is either missing in my life, or I'm trying to give something to someone, and money is the physical manifestation of those beliefs.
A lot of people think money is having a secure, high-paying job, but if you hate your job, and it's interesting to hear what people's definition of money is.
I traveled to India, for example, and I worked in this remote village where they barely had anything to put together, and yet they had something that I didn't have. They had a satisfaction, and they had freedom. And sometimes I think that a high-paying job can become golden handcuffs, where we think, I can't sacrifice this because I can't do what I really want to do when I'm really passionate, or what I'm really wired to do, because if I do, I'll take a pay cut. So then, like this thing that we've built up to be like our source of joy, all of a sudden becomes the handcuffs that I'm stuck here and I can't get out of it. So yes, that becomes a difficult journey of trying to figure out, okay, but what am I wired to do? Where am I supposed to be? And where can I find the most joy and satisfaction and make the greatest impact on the world around me?
You mentioned money from source. It's abundance, love, and most people don't realize this. You also mentioned money being attached to greed, wars, or crime. Why do we have these negative attachments, and what causes that?
Money tends to bring out the worst in us because we're trying to accumulate it. Then we use that money to hold power over other people. So we have this mentality, if everybody has then that somehow takes away from my belonging or status. There's good and bad with this, but our worth gets tied to our salary. Our worth gets tied to how valuable we are in society. In fact, some of the hardest working people are getting the lowest income. Money has nothing to do with our intrinsic value as a human being. If we could truly look at everyone around us, whether they are barely making it, whether they're homeless, or whether they are the billionaire, whatever the case might be, their money has nothing to do with how valuable they are. We all have value regardless of our financial status.
How do you reconcile this belief that the rich are corrupt, evil, and greedy, and that they accumulated their wealth through non-ethical means?
I don't think it's accurate to make that a blanket statement. In my line of work, we work with a lot of very generous people who have accumulated a lot because they had business acumen. They made wise investments. Someone made lucky investments. There was a guy that we'd written a story about who said, somebody just told me about Apple and Starbucks, and I thought I should invest in them. And so lo and behold, he's got a lot of wealth now. There are people who have accumulated through manipulation, but I don't think wealth is evil. Wealth is not a sign of manipulation or greed. Sometimes when people are already greedy, manipulative, or have the evil in their spirit, more money is going to amplify that. I've seen the opposite true as well. I've seen people who were generous when they had nothing, and now that they have money, they use it to express that generosity.
Money amplifies who you already are. There's still these negative perceptions and stereotypes around having money. Is that media? Is that society? How do you reconcile money in the church, money in the government? People believe their taxes are wasted to fund wars, kill innocent people, wasteful things. How do you reconcile all of that?
I think that it does exist. I think there is greed. The reality is a lot of the people that are the most generous and altruistic are also the quietest about this because they're not looking for glory. They're not looking for the spotlight. There are a lot of people that can make an assumption, if you have money, you should give it all away. The reality is they are giving a lot of it away. They're doing it quietly, which is the best way to do it. I think some of it is based on a few bad apples that are very public, and greed. Unfortunately, we see a lot of that in the world of people trying to get more and more. That wreaks havoc. I believe there is goodness out there, genuine and authentic generosity that we don't see because it's done quietly.
Surrendering, and is that true freedom? What is faith when it comes to finances?
Yes, we see surrendering as waving the white flag and that I'm weak and I'm giving up. I found in surrendering in the context, just that battle of wills of my toddler who I had to keep putting back into timeout. When he was finally willing to listen, then I was able to talk through it, calm the emotions, and move to a place of joy. What I found in my life, I'm wired towards trying to get things my own ways, that wants to experience joy, peace, and satisfaction. But that will only come when I give up and I surrender and say, show me the path. That's what that looks like to me.
It was really interesting conversation. I've got a lot of insights. How can people connect with you, learn more, check out your book, and hear a fantastic story?
The book is sold online. It's Money and Surrendering Your Finances. I would also love to connect with you on my website, heatherday.net. I have all my socials there, and I would love to connect with you and hear your story.
Thanks so much for coming on. For the audience, Heather's links will be in the show notes, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.